Are you a scrub lord when it comes to using Git? Damn it. Ask yourself these three questions. Do you know the difference between git commit and git push? Do you know what rebasing is for? Do you know how to solve a merge conflict? If you answered no to any of these questions, this video might be for you. First off, what is Git? Let's compare it to things like Microsoft Office, Dropbox, and Facebook. You know that button in Microsoft Word that says Edit Undo? Git does that, but for every change that has ever been made to a project, and by any member of your team. You know that track changes feature in Word with all the red and blue lines showing who changed what? Git does that. And it includes comments so you can explain why things were changed. You know how Dropbox backs up your files in the cloud, but you still have a local copy on your computer? GitHub does that for your code. You know how Facebook has like buttons and threaded comments and pictures of your friends and their adventures? GitHub makes code so much more social. Git makes development a collaborative journey. Now, how do you use Git on your computer? First, it needs to be installed. This is a pretty simple process, but I can make another video if necessary. Once Git is installed, type git into what's known as a shell. On Windows, this is cmd.exe. On Mac, it's known as terminal. You'll likely know this as the little black window that hackers use. Everything we'll cover in this video is easy and shouldn't take more than a few minutes to learn. But by the end of it, you'll have a hard time convincing your mom you aren't hacking. With your shell open, or terminal as I'll call it from now on, try typing git and hitting enter. If you get help dialog, Git is correctly installed. If it isn't, you'll need to fix that before you can continue this video. Now that you know Git is working correctly, you'll need a repository to clone to your machine. Cloning usually only happens once, but it's very easy. Before we do anything with the repository, or repo for short, we need to decide where we want to put it. I like to put repos either in my documents or above that in my root user folder. You can decide where you want to put it now. Open your File Explorer or Finder on Mac and pick out a home for this repo. I've already selected Documents/GitHub. Now we need that location open in your terminal. To do this, we're going to use our first bit of commands that look like hacking. We'll need commands like directory and change directory. If you're on a Windows machine, type dir for directory and hit enter. And since I'm not, this is not going to work. On Mac, this is ls. So dir and ls do the same thing. So directory or list is what we're looking at here. This should show you the contents of the folder your terminal is currently in. You can jump into any of those folders by changing directory. Type cd followed by the folder name to jump to that folder. So if we want to jump into documents, we do cd documents. And so now if I did dir or ls, I can see that I'm now inside of my documents folder. If you go too far, you can jump back up a folder with cd ... So this puts us back in my root folder. Navigate to the GitHub folder you created. When you dir in this folder, it should be empty, unless of course you've already put something in there. So for me, it's in Documents GitHub. So we'll do cd Documents GitHub. And if I list or dir in this folder, I see that there's nothing in it. Now that we have a home for your repo, we need the repo itself. Navigate to the repository you want to clone. In our case, it's the neighborhood. In the top right corner, you'll see a little green drop-down that says Code. Copy the HTTPS address to your clipboard, and let's head back to your terminal. As long as you're still in that GitHub folder, you're ready to clone. Type git clone and paste in the repo address. If you've done this correctly, it will start downloading everything in the repo. Using dir after this finishes will suddenly show you your new repo folder. Congrats! You now have a code base you can start contributing to. Let's cd into that new Git folder. In order to start making code changes, let's create a branch that will be just for you. Type git branch and then name it something creative. In this tutorial, we'll specifically be updating the README to add our name to it. And then this will be our simple PR. So I've chosen a branch name that's fairly descriptive. Branches can't have any special characters, such as this or this, or they can't have any spaces, such as this, but characters and numbers are fair game. Now that you've created a branch, let's take a look at it. Type get branch without a branch name and it will list every branch that's available. You should now see your branch and main. We want to avoid editing main directly where possible. It's not the end of the world, but a branch is good practice and prevents you from accidentally doing things you don't want to do later. You might notice that main has an asterisk next to it. That's because even though you created a branch, you still have main checked out. Let's switch to our new branch with get checkout and then your branch name. Now if we get branch again, we'll see the asterisk has moved because we've switched to our branch. We're finally ready to try our first pull request, or PR for short. In your File Explorer, find the readme.md file. Open it in your favorite text editor, plain old Notepad works just fine, and add your name to the collaborators. Save the file and head back to your terminal. And we'll save this with Control S. Great. Your local copy of the repository is now different from the one stored on GitHub. Type git status to see that the README is now modified. We'll have to push the changes so that your friends will see what you've done. Before we can push, we'll need to tell Git what files we want to push. If we push now, it will just push nothing. To add things to commit, we'll need to use git add followed by the full relative path and name of the file. A relative path is a path to your file from where the terminal currently is. It might look something like the neighborhood/readme.md. Thankfully, you don't have to type out the absolute path like c blah blah blah. Okay, now we have a modified file to commit. Now we have to commit it. Do git commit -m and then in double quotes create a descriptive commit message. Make sure you close those double quotes and hit enter. You'll now see how many files you're changing and how many lines of code have changed. Git commit creates a commit that can be pushed to GitHub. -m is a parameter that lets us create a commit message right away. The stuff in the double quotes can be whatever you want it to be, but make it descriptive. You want your friends to know what this commit is for. If you forget to -m, your terminal will very likely get you to create a message in VI, which is not the easiest way to do it. If you accidentally get stuck in VI, type :q and exclamation point to quit out. Try your commit again with an m parameter and message. Finally, we're ready to push. Do a git push and hit enter. Most likely, if this is your first commit on the branch, you'll have to do some upstream stuff. This is fine. Git will tell you exactly how to do it. Copy the recommended command exactly and run that. This links your branch to the upstream repo and creates a branch there too. Think of upstream as the cloud-stored version of the code you're working on. Everyone contributes to the upstream, but no one is editing it directly. Once your push succeeds, we should finally be able to see it in GitHub. Open GitHub and click on Pull Requests. You'll see a button to create a new pull request. You can also do it from the branches page here. For example, if I did it through this button. Create a new PR and make sure to specify your branch, which is done here. Once the PR is created, you'll be able to request code reviews for approval. This PR is just a simple text change, so there isn't really anything to review. In later PRs with lots of lines of code, code reviews are a great way to learn better strategies. You might learn something new from reviewing someone else's PR, and someone might teach you something on yours. Since your PR is simple, go ahead and press merge and your PR will be complete. Good practice is to wait for a review or two before merging though. From the conversation, you can merge your pull request. And confirm to finish. Now once the pull request successfully merges and closes, you can go back up to your branches, which I think we'll have to go through code, and we can delete this branch. And now if we go back to the code and view the README, we should see Darby Dankwater listed in GitHub. Congrats on successfully cloning and pushing back to GitHub. You did great! Next time we'll cover what to do when you have a merge conflict. Ooh, scary.